Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well on this rainy Thursday. It's time for your daily video devotion. This week I've been talking about the problem of evil, inspired by a question some of you asked during our video hangout on Sunday. If God is good, then why are there evil and suffering in the world? We talked about how yes, God is good, and then we talked about how God gave us free will. If you haven't already watched these two previous episodes, I recommend it so that we can all be on the same page together. Today, I'm going to wrap up my response to this question by talking about how choices we make have an impact on the world for good or evil. So, once again, God gave us free will. Why? Wouldn't it have been easier just to create humanity exactly as we were supposed to be? Well, sure. It probably would have been easier, but let me also ask you a question that might help us to think about free will. Think of something you love, your parents, your friends, Cheez Whiz, anything. You made a choice to love that thing. You might make a daily choice to love. If you loved that thing without choosing to, would it really be love? Our relationship with God works in the same way. God created humanity out of love, and God desires our love in return, but God didn't create enslaved robots that are forced to love Him. Instead, we have free will. It's how we exercise that free will that impacts the world around us. Think of the worst villains in history who caused the greatest amount of suffering. They made choices for power, for greed, for hatred. But you also have to remember that no one is born that way. We go through our lives, and for a long time, we're mainly focused on ourselves. We don't usually bother to think about how our choices impact others. The world's most terrible villains, like Adolf Hitler, started out just like the rest of us. And then they were subjected to the free will of others. And I wonder what terrible choices they must have experienced to turn them into such hateful people. It's important that we remember that every choice we make has consequences, and the choices of others have impact on us. We are all at the mercy of each other's free will. And so it's important to choose the right ones to have the greatest impact on our lives. I think about a verse from Joshua 24:15. Joshua is speaking to the leaders of Israel, urging them to renew their promise to God, to be faithful children. He says to them, "Now if you're unwilling to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." Joshua chose to follow God, and God chose Joshua to lead Israel. The Lord chooses us too. I think Jesus proved that when He endured the cross for us. That choice He made perhaps has the greatest impact on my life, and I hope that you feel the same way. So I don't know if that's a very satisfying response to this question of why evil exists in the world, but I'm going to leave it there. God is good. God gave us free will. Suffering exists because we don't always use our free will in the way that we should, in the way that we have a relationship with God. But that's not to say that there's not an overwhelming amount of good in the world. I invite you to read Joshua 24 with your family and think about the reasons Israel chose to serve the Lord. Then talk about some ways that you might serve the Lord and how you might form your choices based on your relationship with God. Tomorrow we have a treat. We're going to get to hear from another one of your small group leaders. But until then, I hope you'll stay safe, stay healthy, stay home, and share this devotion with a friend. We'll see you soon.